All right, guys. Well, welcome to my live daily brief Zoom session. Normally in the morning, I do these pre-recorded on software on QuickTime and then post it out to you guys, not only to my Discord community, but to my Twitter community as well for the morning briefs. But this morning, I had a lot of trouble with the software. I couldn't get it to work. So I'm doing a live Zoom session. For those on my Twitter that follow me that are not part of my Discord group, this is what we do on a daily basis. We're usually at 1 o'clock with the Discord group. We have one of these Zoom sessions, live Zoom sessions, where I cover the TA. And then after the TA is done, then I cover questions and answers. On this particular one, guys, I know this is going to be a little bit odd for my Discord group, but we're not going to do any Q&A on this one. We're just going to stick to what we normally do. I'm going to do the TA. And then please save your questions for the 1 o'clock show, which will be coming up in about, 4 hours or so. We'll have our 1 o'clock show, and then we'll do our regular Q&A after the TA. So let me go ahead and get started with that. Let me share my screen. All right, we'll zoom, Chrome. Here we go, share. All right, let me minimize this box here. All right, guys, let's take a look at the overall crypto market cap. So we're sitting at $127 billion. That's a big fall from yesterday's $136 billion. So we shaved quite a bit off the market cap, but we did increase. However, the 24-hour volume, it was at about 15 billion yesterday. Now it's at 21 billion. And the top three gainers for the past 24 hours, you know what, let me refresh my screen because this is a screen that I had earlier when I was trying to record. Okay, let's start with the top 10. So the top 10, you can see the sell-off going on in the market right now. So we're between 5 and 12% on the top 10. The only thing that's in green is Tether, my favorite. And looking at the top three, we have Aurora at number 1 at 11.91%. We have Status Network at 8.70%, and we have MXM at 8.3% in gains for the past 24 hours. Let's move into Bitcoin. On the 1 hour time frame, yesterday during our 1 o'clock Zoom session, we were talking about, I was talking to GMP Raggers. He was talking about how he was looking at a Bart Simpson, and I agreed with him only because this move up here, in my opinion, would have been the move for the next leg up. The fact that we lost it so drastically to the bears on this move here, I really lost faith in that. So I was telling him that, yeah, for me, it was about 70% that we're going to drop down. However, I really did believe that we were going to stop at this 200 EMA. Normally, when we have a drop or a rise, the 200 EMA is one that normally is a very strong one to cross, whether you're coming from below and you're trying to break through it, or when you're above it, it normally acts as support. And here you can see where it just blew through everything. Now it's interesting to see where it fell. Whenever something like this falls, the first thing I do is that I grab the tip of that wick and I snap a line. And when I snap a line, what that's gonna tell me, it's gonna indicate to me, I'm gonna move to the left, and it's gonna show me all the areas of support and resistance. And this is something that it's really important for you guys that are learning TA, that you identify these areas, because these areas are gonna be extremely important for you guys to have as backup, because as you guys know, the people who follow me, I like using my EMAs for support and resistance, but when those fail, like it did here, you have to have an idea of where this price action might fall. So for me, honestly, I probably would have went a little bit higher for support, maybe here, and this would have been my third choice. But as you can see, the price action had a different plan. So it's always good to map these out just so you can have an understanding on how these price actions work, when they fall, how they fall. And normally when these price actions fall, they don't just randomly stop at a point in the chart. There's always a reason behind it. And the reason behind this one here is because you can see here, like I mentioned before, it was an area of very strong support and very strong resistance. So those are things that are really interesting and something that you guys should be looking out for. Looking at the 4 hour time frame, we were in a really nice position here above the 200 EMA for quite some time. And this is what was making me really bullish on this move. I was really glad to see that happen, because prior to that, if you look to the left on the 4-hour time frame, it's been a very, very long time that we've been able to hold this long above the 200 EMA. As a matter of fact, it hasn't been since October 14th that we had stayed above the 200 EMA for this amount of time. But unfortunately, with the completion of that BART pattern, we broke through all of these EMAs. And again, we landed right here on the support. Looking at the indicators, however, for the MACD, it still shows a bearish stance here on the indicators for the MACD. But you know what? Let's take a look at the 1-hour time frame. I want to see the MACD, see if it's starting to level out here. Well, it looks like we're getting a slight bend, but we are still bearish on the 1-hour time frame. You can see here we're still on the downtick. Now, this last little tip here of the MACD, of the indicator, you can see where it's starting to curve. So hopefully we can get a little bit of volume coming in. And I think that curve there had to do with this bar that just came in, but unfortunately the next bar opened up and we are now going further down. So let's take a look at the 12-hour time frame on BTC. The 12-hour time frame kind of gives you a little bit better perspective that we're not really outside of this range. We've been hitting this range. Let me snap some lines here. Let me move the support line down here. And you can really see that we have not been able to break outside of this channel that's been in. Even though it seems a little volatile with this drop, when you zoom out, you can really see not much has changed. We get to the top at around 4,000, and then we go to the bottom at about $3,600. We have not really been able to break above that 4,000, 4,100 level. I was hoping that we'd go at least to the 100 EMA on the 12-hour time frame, which at the time would have put us at about 41.38, 39. But unfortunately, as you can see from last night's move, that did not happen. MACD is having a bearish crossover here on the 12-hour time frame. You can see that, but this won't change on the 12-hour time frame until a big move on the smaller time frames. Then you'll see that trickling effect move over to the higher time frames. We're going to cover some of the alts. Unlike, I don't normally do this for my morning brief, but because we had such a drastic drop and we had some really good gainers for the week, like Tron, ADX, Icon, I'm going to cover some of those here on the live Zoom session. Looking at Ethereum, now this one played out how I expected. As far as finding support on the 200 EMA. As far as finding support, wow, it looks like Bitcoin's dropping some more. I just got an alert here on my computer, 3670, it dropped on Binance. Well, in any case, another gap was filled. All right, sorry guys, my alerts are going off here on my live Zoom session. Well, to get back to Ethereum, you can see here this drop. Look at the way it fell right on that 200 EMA. And this is what I'm talking about. I like seeing this type of support happen on the 200 EMA. And this is looking at the 4-hour time frame. Looking at the 1-hour time frame here on Ethereum, you can see the drop. It tried to find a little bit of a positive bull volume, but unfortunately that did not happen. More of a drop, and we've been sitting sideways here. Now it is testing the lows that it had about 6-7 hours ago. So if we snap a line on here, you can see here what's testing this low at this current candle bar, which just opened about 12 minutes ago. The MACD is starting to take a slight bend, but now it's starting to go bearish, as you can see from that move right now. And it's probably being affected from the drop that we're having currently with Bitcoin. Looking at Litecoin, let me just get some of these. Come on. Let me get some of these out of my way. Okay, looking at Litecoin, again, look at how perfectly she fell to the 200 EMA for support. Again, that's what I would really like to see, is holding price action above the 200, especially once we break above it. It's really important that we stay above that. If not, then when we fall below it, we're gonna have a hard time breaking through that 200 EMA. And this is on the 4-hour time frame. Looking at TRX. Now, TRX was a very, very strong performer this past week. And I had the fib level on it here only because, Yesterday, we were talking about this in our Zoom session. This was due for a correction. Nothing that goes up like this is going to continue to do so without some profit taking. You can see here, now we got some sell-off. Bitcoin dropped, so this is going to affect it. This coin is no different than any other coin. When BTC drops, 99% of these altcoins are going to get affected. So right now, we are breaching that 618 fib level, where the next support, I would say, would be the 30 EMA. However, if we do not stop at the 30 EMA for support, it is very, very crucial that we find support at the 50 EMA. And let me explain to you guys why that is so important. If you look here to the left, the 50 EMA has been a very, very strong area of resistance, very strong area of support. So if we lose that, we might see another area like this where we're going to stay underneath that 50 EMA for quite some time. So it is vital that we stay above that 50 EMA on this move down. Hopefully what we can do is find support at the 50, do some sideways consolidation like we did here, and continue up to the upside. And for those that have been riding this move here, I really hope you guys have been moving up your stop losses to protect those profits. But I imagine quite a few of you got out of this trade yesterday when we covered it in our Zoom session, as we were anticipating a correction here at some point. Regardless of whether Bitcoin dropped or not, I was still expecting a correction just because of this huge move to the upside. And again, look at the separation between the 9 EMA, we talked about that yesterday, between the 9 EMA and the price action. Whenever you start creating that space between the 9 and the price action, you're going to have some correction coming back down. So you want to stay nice and tight. When you start moving away, look what happens. Look left here. When this price action started moving away, here, it came back down to touch it. When it started moving away from the 9, it came back down to touch it. And this was getting very dangerous here with this huge long, I call this a FOMO candle. And this was just the last minute FOMOers thinking that this time it's different, it's going to $1. And unfortunately, that is not the case for any of these coins. Nothing goes up forever. Looking at ADA, another very strong performer. You can see here where it came back down here to a very strong area of support. So this area here was expected to catch the price action, because if you look left, it has been a very, very strong area of support. It was an area of resistance. We were below the 50 EMA on the 6-hour time frame ever since November 13th. But once we crossed it, we stayed above it for quite some time. We dipped just slightly here, briefly, for a day or so. Well, actually not even a day, for like half a day. And then again, we were able to regain that support. We were able to maintain that price action. But unfortunately, now we fell below it. So we're now teetering on the 100 EMA. So hopefully we can catch support here and we don't fall further down. And hopefully we can do one of these moves where we come down here, we gain some support and quickly rise above it. If we don't, I imagine we're going to see some more price action below the 50 EMA. Let's look at our next. Let me move this bar out of my way. Let's look at NEO. NEO has been another very strong performer. Unfortunately with NEO, with this move that it made here, it gave it all back last night. So I'm hoping that you guys were able to ride your stop losses and were able to protect some of the profits. But this move here doesn't look very good for NEO. I think NEO is one of the few that gave basically everything back from this move if you got into it during this consolidation phase. Look at it, Icon was another strong performer. This one also gave, this one's really interesting, guys. Wow, Bitcoin is just dropping hard, 35.52. All right, we're still seeing that sell-off. This one's very interesting, guys. I'll get to Bitcoin in just a minute, but I just want to finish this last one. Look at the way this 200 EMA rejected the price action. Again, guys, very, very important to recognize these EMAs, because these are good areas for you guys to recognize as targets. A lot of times I get the comments that people say that I know how to read a setup as far as going into a trade, but I have a lot of time, I have a lot of trouble getting out of a trade. So if for those of you who have taken my EMA module, you guys will know how well you can utilize these EMAs as your targets to take profit and get out of your trades. Looking at the gap chart here for, wow, look at this. Looking at the gap chart here for Bitcoin, you can see here where we've now filled this last gap here. I just posted this on Twitter where these two were filled. And for those, again, who have taken my gap module, you'll now understand how to utilize these lines even after the fact. After they've been filled, these lines still serve a purpose. And those of you who have taken my gap module know what I'm talking about. So as of now, I want to say the support for Bitcoin is going to lay right about here. And let me explain to you guys why I'm choosing this area here. I'm choosing it because I'm looking at the 4-hour time frame, and I'm looking at this cluster of support. I'm looking at this cluster of resistance. I'm looking at this cluster of resistance. So more than likely, we're going to see some support right around this area here. So let me so somewhere in this range here, we should see some support coming through, hopefully. If not, then we know that we have this gap line as support, but we're having a really big sell-off at the moment with Bitcoin. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end this portion, this TA recording. Remember, guys, we have a live Zoom session for those who are my members of my Discord, where I will be covering these alts again. We'll see where we're at, and we'll take some questions and answers, and also we'll take some requests from the audience on our second half of the Zoom session coming up in about 4 hours. Thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate it, and you guys have a wonderful day.